Welcome back to the 2 Point Lighting Podcast.
I am your co-host, Matt.
And I am Tait.
And on this episode, we will be discussing our personal journey through discovering music and where we are at now with music.
Yeah. And so, Matt, I want to play a game with you.
Okay.
I need to guess your favorite current artist. Not your artist of all time, because that's Eminem.
Yeah.
But your favorite current artist.
So the person that I'm listening to like a lot currently, like the most right now.
Okay.
Okay.
It's a rapper, right?
Yeah, they're a rapper. Yeah.
And it's Tupac.
No, it's not.
Go for it.
So the rapper that I'm currently listening to a lot is a rapper named Yellow Wolf.
Yeah.
And so I guess essentially the reason why I'm listening to a lot of him right now is because for different times of the year, I'm sort of nostalgic for trying to revisit when this artist had released a certain album because I have like some good memories about that. So around April of 2019, Yellow Wolf had released probably my favorite album from him called Trunk Music 3.
Yeah.
And so I just have a lot of good memories from that time period in my life, and as well, I just love a lot of songs off that album. Like I think a lot of them have aged well for me.
Yeah.
And I just love rediscovering those songs.
Okay, so is this like a intentional thing? It's like, oh, it's April, it's time to listen to Yellow Wolf again. Because my cousin's very much that way. He's like, I've got specific artists, specific songs for specific months and seasons.
For me, it doesn't get super specific like that. Because technically I do listen to Yellow Wolf a lot all year round too.
Yeah.
So there's no exact rule per se, but like maybe closer to like summer, there might be another artist that I'll listen to because I have good memories of when their album dropped in the summer or maybe even in the fall.
So you just find yourself listening to them, or?
Yeah, so okay. I'll quite frequently revisit maybe their album they had dropped that particular year, and then maybe I might go into their back catalog and rediscover some of their songs then.
Yeah.
Sometimes too, if the artist is back in the news for something, then I'll kind of get reminded about like, oh yeah, like that artist I did really appreciate. And I used to listen to like a lot of them back in the day, but maybe the last while I haven't really. So I do a lot of rediscovering of the artists that I like.
Yeah. Okay. So where did it all start then?
So for my music journey, it didn't start with rap music. It actually started with rock music, technically.
Yeah.
So the first musical act that I guess I would at the time deemed as my favorite when I was a kid was Green Day. So
that is so surprising to
me. Green Day, their first album came out in like 1994, right?
First album?
Yeah.
We're probably talking 80s ish.
80s?
80s.
Okay, we should probably fact check.
We might have to look this up because Green Day is like a classic.
Yeah, I forget when they're. Yeah, I forget exactly, but essentially, Green Day is really the generation before me, slightly.
Yeah.
But they kind of had a bit of a resurgence, I'd say, in the mid-2000s with their American Idiot album.
That's when I think they hit their peak, because that was like Boulevard Broken Dreams.
Which actually, that was the first song I wanted to know the name of.
1987. Oh, no, that wasn't their first album. That's when they formed, but... Give me a second. 1990 was their first album.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so for me, I wasn't familiar with Green Day as far as there's other albums in the 90s, but that Boulevard of Broken Dreams song that was big around 2005.
Yeah, like 2002, 2005-ish? Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it was around 2005 that album, or that song came out on that album.
Yeah.
So I just really loved that song, and I had wanted to then buy the album, and I think it was in a commercial maybe for some radio, something on like TV, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I had asked like, oh, like what's what's the name of that song? And someone had told me like Boulevard Broken Dreams. Maybe I asked my parents. I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
And they said, it's by this band named Green Day. And I had wanted to purchase their album, but of course, American Idiot had the parental advisory sticker on it.
Oh no!
So when my mom took my brother and I to HMV was the name of the store. They've closed down or were closing down stores because
no one buys discs anymore. Yeah.
But in the mid 2000s, they still were, and so my brother had purchased a Much Music compilation, which for the listeners that don't know, Much Music was the Canadian version of MTV. So
yeah,
it was a compilation album of the hits from the early 2000s. And I unfortunately couldn't get American Idiot, so I had gotten a Green Day, basically a hits compilation.
Oh, okay.
Which did not have Boulevard of Broken Dreams, but
oh no,
that was okay because I fell in love with some of the other songs that they had on there. So
yeah,
that was the first album I think I technically had was that hits album from Green Day. I forget the exact name of it, but yeah.
Okay, so when did it transition into rap?
Good question.
So you're talking. This is like birth to 05, right?
Yeah. So birth to 05. Like I would listen to the radio, but this is I didn't really have any interest at the time for like learning bands' names or song names.
Yeah.
When I first heard of Green Day, I was around like grade 3 or grade 4, so I was like 9 or 10. So
yeah.
From birth to 8 years old, I didn't have any kind of
strong musical
opinions. It was just stuff on the radio. That was that.
Yeah.
And where we're from, there's a lot of rock music and country music and pop country, pop rock, and other sort of pop genre stuff. So, and that was really it. So in terms of what I thought music was, I'm like, I heard Boulevard Broken Dreams. I thought this was a pretty good song. And where it transitioned over to rap, and then I guess I should mention as well, shortly thereafter, though, there was a song called Paralyzer by Finger 11. I don't know if you heard of that one.
I've heard of Finger 11. I've never listened to them, but
that song was huge mid 2000s, played on the radio all the time. Also because they're a Canadian band, so Canadian artists there's a certain rule where they have to get played like a certain amount per day or whatever.
Yeah. You have to play a certain amount of Canadian artists per day. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that song was always on there. At the time, I loved it. My parents bought me their album with that one on it. It was called Them Versus You Versus Me. And I listened to some songs off there. Loved Finger 11, at least for that album.
Yeah.
And also around that time, because Finger 11, I would have got that album around 5th grade. And then before that, in the 3rd grade, in the 4th grade, was the Green Day compilation hits.
Yeah.
Around there. And then also, I guess all these albums came relatively quick. The other rock album that I had purchased was Billy Talent 2.
Oh, that's a classic.
Yeah.
So like Red Flag.
Yeah.
Not Diamond on a Landmine, I don't think.
No, but like Fallen Leaves.
I don't know that one offhand.
That was the song that drew me to them, was actually Fallen Leaves. I love that song. And so, basically I had purchased the album, I had bought the album, Billy Talent 2, kind of around that time. So those 3 albums, the Green Day Hits album, Billy Talent 2, and that Finger 11, Them Versus You Versus Me.
You were turning into a punk at the time.
Yeah, so I'd say those 3 albums were probably my initial foundation.
Yeah.
And around the time when I was in the 4th grade, so I would have been like 10 around there. And for reference, this is like 2006, 2007.
Yeah.
During that time period, my first actual, journey into rap music, there was a few different factors. The teacher that I had for my 4th grade year, she was actually into rap music. So she had a compilation CD that she would play when we would do our work sometimes.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
She was into like different kinds of popular music. So the mix CD that she had that she would play, it wasn't just rap, it was like a bunch of different songs. But one of them was Black Eyed Peas' Where Is the Love?
Dude,
And
that's a classic.
Man,
I loved that song.
And when I heard that song, I was like, this doesn't sound like any. Because again, like the stuff on the radio where we're from is rock and country. So that instrumental, when it comes on, it's like, whoa, like what's this?
Yeah.
And Will I Am starts with his verse, and Fergie sings the chorus, and then the other artists on I can't remember their names right now, but the other artists on Black Eyed Peas have their verses, and that was I thought that was really different and interesting, and all the different sounds that they had used, and the actual style of rapping. I'm like, oh, this is different.
Yeah.
And the other thing that came in that ran parallel with this moment, because this during the same year or around there, because I had mentioned before that my brother had purchased that Much Music compilation.
Yeah.
So most of the songs on there were, I guess you could say pop to a certain degree.
Well, usually compilations, it's pop, because what pops off the most is pop music, right?
Might have been a brief rock, like a couple rock songs, but the one notable song was 50 Cent's Into Club, but the clean version, because that was the thing. Like at the time, we could only buy the clean stuff, so
50 Cents in the Club.
So 50 Cent Into Club, but the clean version. So basically, when that song comes on, I'm always like surprised when I hear the cuss words in that song, because I'm so used to it with playing it with the clean version.
So did he record over, or did it just go to instrumental for a second?
Yeah, so it just like cuts out.
Okay.
And there's like nothing for like a brief second during some parts of that song. So I remember getting my brother's CD and listening to it for a little bit. I don't know if my brother gave it to me for a while, or I just kind of just took it when he didn't notice and just listened to it. Probably the latter. Yeah. And 50 Cent's Into Club was, I think, one of the first few songs on there. And man, that beat, still to this day, that beat, I still listen to that song. That beat alone is so infectious. It's so good. And Tait, I'm telling you, man, I was blown away. I had never heard anything like that. Like, what? Like, I had never heard this type of instrumental, and then, just what he was talking about. Because, like, on the radio, sometimes they would have those segments with the American Top 40 with Ryan Seacrest. Yeah. And they would have the other trendy songs. And there might have been some more hip-hop, I guess you could say, styled kind of instrumentals. But there was never any full-out rap songs, really. Yeah. That I can remember. I mean, they play like Outkast's Hey Ya, but that's so watered down with pop. That's not really like Outkast is a very like,
Is that the yeah that song? Yeah. Oh wow, I can't believe I remember that.
Yeah, that's from a rap duo called Outkast.
I did not realize it. To me, that was just pop.
See, that's the thing. That's like their biggest song, but their actual catalog is like Andre 3000, who's one of the rappers on that duo. He's considered one of the best rappers of all time. Like, there's a whole I'm sure fans of like Outkast don't like that song as much because that's the mainstream song, but you haven't heard of the rest of the song where it's, or the rest of the catalog where it's more rap, Yeah. But yeah, so when I heard 50 Cent's Into Club, I was just addicted to that song for a while, and yeah, so there was that. So there was the song that my teacher played, Where's the Love. There was also 50 Cent's Into Club. Then also, I guess the third influence that happened around this time when I was in grade 4 was, Tait, do you remember that song, I think it's Apologize by One Republic? It's too late to...
Oh, yes,
It's too late. Yeah, that one.
It's too late to... Yeah.
Yeah. So, that song, it's by One Republic, but technically it's credited as Timbaland featuring One Republic. Tait, do you know who Timbaland is?
Justin Timberlake? No.
Close. He works with Justin Timberlake, but Timbaland is actually a hip-hop producer that was big in... well, I guess like late 90s, mid 2000s. And he produced a lot of like Justin Timberlake stuff, Nelly Furtado, Missy Elliott. And he has like a signature style with how he does his drums and all that. And so, yeah, and so basically this is like '07 when the song came out.
Yeah.
So before that, our family got iTunes. So basically, if we liked a song, if my
99
mom liked a
cents.
song, you'd buy the whole album.
Oh,
And-
really? You bought the albums?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so my mom loved that Apologize song, and she ended up buying Timbaland's album. But the interesting thing is, though, that one song does not sound like the rest, because the rest of the album is like more or less like a hip hop album. There's some pop, well, pop infused with like hip hop.
Yeah.
Apologize is straight up just like it's not hip hop.
Yeah, I was like, that doesn't sound like hip hop.
I think there's some like there's a Timbaland signature drum, like his drums that are in that song, but it's so different from like anything else. And so my mom had bought Timbaland. So he's a producer but also a rapper. So he had this his first, I guess you could say, album where he released under his name because he was credited as a producer on all these other songs.
Yeah.
So it was called Timbaland Presents Shock Value. So Shock Value was the name of the album.
Oh no.
And it had a parental advisory sticker on it, which we didn't have a lot of those around my house. And when my mom brought it home, and I must have asked about it when I saw it, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I like that Apologize song." But that Apologize song I knew was from like a band, and it was just a picture of Timbaland by himself. And I was like, okay. And then also with the parental advisory sticker on it.
Yeah.
And I looked at who was on the back, and I'm like, okay, this is like a compilation, because at the time, and I would soon find this out about hip hop culture, there's a lot of collaborating and like featuring this artist, featuring that.
Yes.
So I would say like Timbaland featuring this, featuring Dr. Dre, featuring Missy Elliott. So so basically when my parents weren't around, I listened to this album, and I was like, yo, this is like, again, like some of the beats on here, like there was some rap verses and like cuss words. Like I'm like, okay, hold up. So so I'd say primarily those three influences around that time when I was about 10 years old pushed me to like, okay, I want to discover more of rap. And then the next step with my journey through rap music was the next year I would have been around 11. So Kanye West had dropped graduation in the fall of 2007. That was a big album.
Was Stronger on it?
Yeah. And Stronger was huge.
Stronger was very huge.
And that's a huge song for him because it catapulted his career. So like even more so. And one of my cousins had the Graduation album, and so when she came down, at this point we just got an iTunes, so I ripped the song off Graduation, unknowingly, that my parents didn't realize, and downloaded to my iPod at the time. So I got acquainted with Graduation, and then also Lil Wayne was huge with the song Got Money, which I still love that song.
I've heard Got Money, yeah.
And his album To Carter 3, kind of considered his best album, came out around 2008. So a lot of the kids in my school were listening to like Lollipop, Got Money, A Milli.
Yeah.
And also around that time, that song Low with Flo Rida and T-Pain was huge. And so T-Pain was featured on everything and this and that. And I kind of discovered T-Pain and like went down his catalog. So rap was sort of in a bit of a bling era, like mid 2000s. So that's just kind of a bit of a sense of where I was at in terms of the stylistic approach with hip hop beats. So going to the next chapter,
2010s.
Yeah, well, actually, just a little bit before then.
Okay.
Still in around 2008, Eminem. So where does he fit into all this? So Tait and I were actually talking a little bit about this topic prior, off air, and I told Tait, like, you're probably gonna be pretty surprised how I heard about Eminem. It's not what you think. So you're probably thinking like, oh, like maybe.
Did you see the movie?
No.
Okay.
I'm sure that's how a lot of people actually found out about it.
Okay, I because a lot of people I thought saw the movie because they knew about it. But okay, go for it.
So a lot of people, would probably think like, oh, like one of their older cousins like gave him an album, or they saw the music video late at night on TV.
Yeah.
No, I had never heard of Eminem, never seen a music video, never heard the song. I guess they just didn't happen to play him on the radio even during those throwback segments.
They didn't. No.
So it was in a school library book.
Was it just a disc?
No, so
Eminem Eminem presents or something.
So actually, it was a there was this series called The 10. So it was like a top 10 on different topics.
On much. Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about much music.
Oh no. So it was like the 10 most important world events, the 10 most important athletes, and then
the 10 most important artists.
Yeah, so there was two different ones. There was the 10 most influential artists, and then the 10 most influential artists, the 10 most influential rap artists. So Eminem was in both. Both books were very important, but the 10 most influential artists is the first time I heard about Eminem in the write-up. I forget where he was in the list. But I remember going through the book and all of a sudden flipping and I see like Eminem. I'm like, that's kind of an odd name. And then each person had like a picture, a profile, a brief description. You turn the page and then it'd be a further breakdown of their bio. And then another additional page breaking down, kind of like an essay highlighting something else about them.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, hey, Eminem, I don't get it. And then, Marshall Mathers. Oh, so he's spelling out his name phonetically. That's kind of cool. Turn the page. Read about his bio, and it was just such a interesting bio. Like it had discussed about the controversy that he had created. It was talking about the fact that he divorced the same woman twice, how he hates everyone, but he loves his daughter, but that's pretty much it. And then it just was just kind of breaking down like the rags to riches story, and just how he helped propel hip hop even further into the mainstream and all this stuff. And then the write-up beside it was talking about, so it was two big initial major studio albums, the Slim Shady LP and the Marshall Mathers LP. And this is a book meant for kids, so it didn't go in depth into what was on those albums, but it had talked about how when he first came out with the Slim Shady LP that, there was some controversy, and then he basically doubled down on the Marshall Mathers LP and just made it even more offensive. Yeah. And how it just caused such a major controversy with this, and at the time I didn't even know what the word controversy meant. Like I was like 10 or 11. Yeah. So sort of like reading through this and discovering, like, I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, like I'm already interested in rap. Okay, rap can get kind of tough. There's like, some cuss words here and there, but like nothing too crazy. But it's hinting that there's something just really, really just off the charts wild. And I'm like, I'm curious. So just the premise of Eminem, even before I even heard the song, heard any music, anything, just the premise laid out like this, I'm really curious. Like, what is on this album? So at this point we had iTunes, and so at that point too with YouTube, like, it's not like how it is today where if there was a song on there, it would get copyright claimed just like that. There wasn't like music videos that were just thrown on there officially yet. Yeah. Like mid-2000s. So my experience with discovering music was reading up about the artist further on Wikipedia and playing the 30-second demo on iTunes.
I did the same thing.
Yeah. So between that and whatever I could find on YouTube, I would piece together what I would know of the artist. Yeah. And so Eminem was an artist that I was intrigued by. Just his music was like, so it was either chaotic, and it could be silly, it could be serious, it could be sad. Like it was so all over the place, and just these like intense emotions. Yeah. And captured this sense of rebellion and counterculture that I just thought was really cool. Yeah. But honestly though, I was intrigued, but it was so different than the rap music I was already listening to, like Lil Wayne, Kanye West, Flo Rida, Timbaland stuff. And so I would say it was an acquired taste. I had to he was always an artist I would frequently revisit, but I didn't love head over heels right away. I guess we'll say that. And so let's say, I mean, flash forward to 2009. I'm in like grade 6, 7. Timbaland released Shock Value 2. I bought that album. Didn't like it as much, but still some good songs. And Black Eyed Peas released, like, there was like that Boom Boom Pow, that The End album that I was oddly into.
Everyone was into it.
But I actually played that back not that recently. I'm like, this techno phase of Black Eyed Peas, no. Like,
I don't think that album aged that well, but no, everyone was into The End.
Yeah,
whatever it was
yeah,
called.
The End. And then also The Beginning, I bought that too. And I think that was the last album with Fergie on it, because they released some other stuff recently without Fergie. And but yeah, so, and then kind of just a bit of that's like the most noteworthy things for the foundation.
Yeah.
I also, like, so flash forward into high school, I got into Down with Webster, another Canadian band that mixed rap and rock.
Down with Webster had a huge boom in Canada in the 2010s.
They were huge, and like just their whole style was really cool, dynamic, because I was, again, like really into rap and the rock stuff.
Yeah.
So I bought their Time to Win Volume 2 album, loved it, and didn't check out their later stuff after that, because they kind of went on a bit of a break, came back, went on a break again. But in terms of
still on break, I
don't
know. Like,
they had released
broke
another
up.
album, I think, kind of recently.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so all through high school, I mean, I listened to like a lot of other like pop music too. Like it wasn't just rap; it was rock too, a bit of pop, not so much country. Or actually, no, scratch that, no country.
Yeah, I don't listen to much country either.
And then the next big milestone got to university, and then I really got into hip hop even more.
Yeah.
In the sense of like watching the interviews and watching documentaries, watching breakdowns of rhyme schemes, and really, really getting into it even further. So from university on, that was the next big jump.
Yeah.
To like really just getting, I would watch reviews on hip hop stuff, really just getting ingrained into that culture. So
yeah.
And then I guess the other little tidbit with my musical taste is I actually don't mind country for like the genre, the subgenre within them of like murder ballads, which is like them telling stories, these very gritty stories on outlaws and all that. I love the outlaw country, the bare bones, stripped back country. Not a fan of the pop country stuff, and so basically at this point I expanded my palette for hip hop in terms of not just the mainstream stuff, but like the underground stuff.
Yeah.
The stuff in the 90s that like came before me. So hip hop, I'm like wide ranging all throughout. And, you know, I have dabbled a little bit in rock and a little bit in country and pop here and there.
Yeah.
Kind of want to get into jazz a little bit more so. But yeah, so, and then going full circle moment with Yellow Wolf. I mean, when I really got into Eminem, I discovered all the other artists on his label. Yellow Wolf was just even further unique because Yellow Wolf didn't sound like anything else, and still Yellow Wolf doesn't sound like anything else country or hip hop wise.
Yeah,
because he just kind of blends the two. Sometimes it's more rap, sometimes it's more country, sometimes it's kind of in the middle. It goes on a bit of a spectrum. But I just thought like, yeah, he was just different yet. And I guess to sum all this up, what kind of caused my interest to move into hip-hop and then the different artists within hip-hop was the different sounds that they brought.
Yeah.
So I was first turned to hip-hop because the beats like were so dynamic, and they could have samples, they could be more electronic, more real instrument sounding, right? Whereas with rock music, yeah, you can have keyboards and synthesizers, but for the most part, it's guitar and drums.
Yeah, guitar, drums, bass. That's your constants.
And I guess I got a bit tired of that repetitive sound.
Yeah.
And then I got into hip hop, like, oh, okay. Then when I discovered Eminem, he had a bit more of a different style than the other artists I was listening to. Then got into more of the underground stuff, MF Doom, I guess, Talib Kweli and Mos Def, Black Star, that album, I love that album.
Yeah.
That's, I guess, a bit more underground per se. And so then I had more of an affinity to, more of like underground hip hop as well as mainstream. So, and yeah, that's kind of in a nutshell, pretty much my journey with music.
Nice. Okay, so if you had to guess, where do you think your journey is going to take you in the next 10 years?
Good question. Well, I think at this point I've solidified myself loving hip hop.
Yeah.
As of late, I have kind of noticed there isn't a lot, and this is a conversation in hip hop right now, that there's not a lot of new artists out.
Oh, okay.
Or like, sorry, there's a lot of new artists, but there's not a lot of new superstars. I think like anything right now, there's just an oversaturation of artists that all sound the same.
Yeah.
So.
Oh no, you're going through your rock moment.
I'm kind of getting like I'm getting tired of hearing trap beats or whatever else, like when you go on Spotify on different on different playlists for rap, and it's like I'm getting so disinterested. And then that's kind of when I went over to like kind of discovering a bit of country, like just like the murder ballad stuff.
Yeah.
You know, for like a brief while. So in 10 years, honestly, probably still hip hop. Who knows what hip hop's going to be, but I can see myself getting into more of just like jazz.
Yeah?
Yeah, like there's
Yeah.
I love the jazz sounds that are in some of the hip hop beats, and maybe I just might want to just do straight instrumentals of jazz, you know. Maybe even delving into a bit of rock, folk, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't really know. It's tough to say what the next 10 years are going to look like in terms of subgenres, but honestly, still hip hop. Just maybe a different side of hip hop or subgenres within it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's mine. So Tait, what is your musical journey?
Do you want to guess my current artist I'm listening to a lot? I've mentioned them, but I don't expect you to remember the name.
Manifest.
No. Not oddly far. Bring Me the Horizon.
Oh right, yeah, you were playing that song the other day.
They're like a metalcore, kind of poppy metalcore, I guess, from UK. But okay. Let's start. I'm Born. The first song I took to, I remember the first song I really took to, and I was like 3 years old.
Okay.
It was called. Sorry, what was the name? It was like Seeking This Person by Michael W. Smith, a hyper Christian artist.
Okay.
Missing Person, that was the name of the song. Missing Person by Michael W. Smith. And it was like, I go back to it, I'm like, wow, it's kind of more in the rock, like light rock that came out in the 90s.
Okay.
And from there, I only listened to what was on the radio. Didn't really have anything. Because again, when we were young, right, it was literally whatever you can get your hands on.
Yeah.
So, like, we didn't have, like, CD players. So it was like, you listen to music in the car. You had a couple CDs that people gave you in the car, and that's it. Mm-hmm. And so I just kind of went along with whatever was played at the time. And again, even during the iTunes era, it was kind of whatever my dad would get me. And so
okay.
One of the albums that he got me was like the Black Eyed Peas album. Mm-hmm. That was in the future. The Black Eyed Peas, the Boom 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 album.
Oh, so The End?
Yeah, The End.
Had like the green person on the cover?
Yeah, it had that green person on the cover. Another one that my family got me was, or not even me, it was just everyone had these albums, is the Marianas Trench.
Oh yeah.
And I liked that a lot. And then something crazy happened is he got me, I think it's Break by 3 Days Grace. And
yeah.
I
break away from everybody.
I loved that album.
3 Days is great. Yeah.
I adored that album, and I was like, "Oh, dude, how can we keep it going?"
That album is Life Starts Now, I think.
Life Starts Now. That's it. Yes.
Yeah.
And then my brother was like, "Okay," like he went and he picked up some discs on his own from a music store, and it was two artists, Manifest, a rapper, and it was from his album Epiphany.
Okay.
So it was more like, what do you call it? Gangster rap? It was like very low instrumental.
Yeah. And
then Hawk Nelson, which was a punk artist. And so that kind of became my two loves of artists. And so 3 Days Grace, I got into a lot of rock stuff. And so from there, I kind of just got everything I could. It was like, oh man, like Skillet, 1,000 Foot Crutch. Again, I grew up in a Christian household. There was a lot of Christian stuff.
Skillet. I keep thinking Skillet was I had a friend who liked Skillet, but they're technically Christian.
Linkin Park was one that kind of blew me away because it was something. Because I lived in a very impoverished community, and so there was a lot of rap.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of specifically 50 Cent was like the big one. Yes.
Okay.
50 Cent was the big one. And so Linkin Park was kind of the one where I was like, oh, I could share this with people, and everyone in that town loved it.
I love Linkin Park. Actually, like in the end, classic song.
In the end is what kind of did it for everyone. Because it mixed the rap, it had like the rockiness, and it mixed it perfectly. And I was like, dude, this is great.
Yeah, that you know what, I was gonna mention Linkin Park too, because they also blended rap and rock.
Yeah, and it was such a different sound at the time. They made basically, at least they popularized new metal, which is what that became.
Yeah,
because you could have songs like Faint, which has like some screaming and just very high energy, and then you have songs like In the End, or you have songs like In the End, which are lower energy but more focused on the rapping, right?
Yeah, you have Numb. I think is that Numb. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Bleed It Out.
Bleed It Out.
I bleed it out, just throw it away. Classic stuff. In our hockey dressing room, back when I played hockey, that song was always played in like any kind of mixed CD at like the time. Yeah.
Okay, so flash forward to about 2010s.
Okay.
Is my friend comes, or I go to my friend's place, and he's like, hey, dude, check this out. And he plays for me Dota by Bass Hunter, which is a Eurodance techno song. And I adore it. And then my brother, at the same time, starts getting into specifically a band called All That Remains, their Fall of Ideals album, which is like insane screaming and just incredibly fast playing.
Okay.
And I listened to it, I was like, I don't really appreciate this. And then he found this other band called Confide, and they had this song, Such Great Heights, which was a cover by The Postal or something.
Okay.
Same song by The Postal, and I loved that song because it all of a sudden it merged kind of like this kind of poppy singing with this screaming. And I was like, that's such a unique sound.
A cool blend of both.
And from there, I was like, I didn't know what I listened to because from there I was discovering artists like Classified, Canadian rapper, and I loved Classified.
Oh, I forgot to mention, I love Classified.
Kevin Rudolph kind of mixed rap and rock a little bit.
So Let It Rock, right? Was it Let It Rock or what?
Yeah, something like that.
Side note, my favorite Classified song, Hard to Be Hip Hop.
Hard to Be Hip, dude. That was one of my favorites. You can't even find it on streaming platforms.
Actually, I think it's on Spotify.
Oh, really? Yeah. It's not on YouTube Music. You have to go to the music video.
Oh, okay.
And so I just started kind of just taking in as many genres as I could.
Okay.
At this time. And I was just like, oh, it's interesting. So around 2013, I'm listening to specifically a lot of Manifest. Because Manifest kept transitioning genres throughout the years, and I loved that.
So more more, you can sense like it wasn't getting repetitive because he's changing it up.
Because like the Epiphany album, I would go back to that because it's like, oh, that's like harder rap, and then it's like the smoothness of his next album, and then like the poppy techno-y of the Citizens Active album, and then the rockiness medley of, I can't remember it, No Plan B, but can't remember the album name.
Oh, of No Plan B?
Yeah.
That's The Chase.
The Chase, thank you.
Yeah.
And then I kind of stopped listening to music for a bit at that point.
Okay, and what time frame is this?
This is about 2012, 2013. I hated what was on the radio.
You know what, though? That era is known as like the swag era.
I couldn't handle the dubstep.
It was like, dubstep was big at the time.
Dubstep.
Robin Thicke, Blurred Lines was the biggest song in 2013.
I can't handle Blurred Lines. And I felt so bad because bands like Simple Plan that I used to enjoy a little bit, all of a sudden became super poppy.
Oh,
And I didn't enjoy them anymore. And
Lost the edge.
and then I was like, okay. I kind of fell off a bit. And then I moved here. And country started playing. I hated country. I still hate country. That is the one
like,
genre.
Among all genres, though?
Or
like all like subgenres of it, I mean?
No, like some country's fine. It's just like stadium country, pop country.
Yeah.
Cannot stand it.
I can't stand... Because one, I can't relate to partying in cornfields and pickup trucks and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I think for me, I love that outlaw stuff because I associate... And I guess a lot of the music I do like... Some of it I can associate with like a movie soundtrack, and I love westerns.
Yeah.
So I love the music in terms of murder ballads and all that stuff in terms of that. But yeah, you're right. Like that stadium, like Luke Bryan stuff. No.
Yeah, and then metal was getting really repetitive as well. And then like all the metal bands just started doing what a lot of people call butt rock, of like just the same thing, kind of over and over and over again.
Yeah.
To be played on radio stations that don't play anything but rock. That's where the term I think comes from.
Oh, okay.
But so that was getting repetitive, and so I was listening to some pop punk, and then my brother found a band again, and I was blown away, and it was Polyphia.
Okay.
And it was prog rock, but its influence wasn't from rock, it was from rap.
Oh, okay.
So they didn't use 4/4 timings, and their guitar playing was insane, but again, they were going for more of a rap feel. And I fell in love with this. I think their album was New Levels, New Devils, that I adored.
Okay.
And from there, it kind of went into, I was more curious about more experimental stuff. I started experimenting with like math rock, which is again it's more progressive. And then the craziest thing happened. Pop punk came back.
Okay.
All of a sudden, Simple Plan was pop punk again.
And like what time frame is this?
This is like 2018.
Okay.
Simple Plan came back. A band I loved, Medina Lake. I know I'm all over the place. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's all good.
I'm a band that I love, Medina Lake, came back, and I kind of just pop punk is my genre. I branch out and then I come back.
Okay.
But yeah, I've been kind of going through a prog phase lately. I've been experimenting with more ska and grunge.
Okay. Yeah.
But
That's sick.
Okay. Another genre I don't do well with is 80s rock.
See,
80s rock, I find it really boring.
Really? So actually, as much as I'm not huge into rock, I actually kind of like it because the 80s environment, or the 80s time frame, like sometimes you'll have like the synths.
Yeah.
And that's kind of different. And then also too, like some of that stuff is like, whether it's cinematic because it was in a movie.
Yeah.
But I associated with, that's that song from that. So I associated with this movie that I liked. So I actually don't mind 80s music.
Yeah.
For
it's
rock music.
I never grew up with it.
Oh, okay.
And it's like, I didn't listen to it at all. Zero Queen, zero Bon Jovi. Well, okay, no. Living on a Prayer. Everyone's heard Living on a Prayer.
Yeah.
But that's it. Zero Rush. I can't think of others, actually. Zero Kansas.
I can't think of any band.
No Black Sabbath or anything.
Okay.
Like nothing. And so when I heard it, it kind of just didn't click with me.
Okay.
I was like, the playing's like a bit slow, but there's some experimental things I like. But then it's like, I think artists I know now, I think did it better. And so I kind of never got into it.
Okay.
But again, so at this point, we're into the 2020s. I'm doing pop punk, exploring other genres, coming back to pop punk. Because it came back and I'm like, sweet. And then recently, it was this year, this year, I heard the new Bring Me the Horizon album. Top 10 Statues to Cry Blood. Crazy name.
Pretty out there title.
It's out there. And I heard their song "A Bullet with My Name on It" featuring an old metal band called Under Oath that my brother loved. And I was like, dude, it's going back to what I loved, but modernizing it and changing it.
It's
I'm
like a revitalization.
It was kind of a revitalization, but not exact. And I'm like, that's what I wanted. This is so different.
Okay.
This is so different, but at the same. I'm like, okay. And that's kind of where we're at now. Is I'm like, oh, like, we're getting into this moment of, like, it's different, but the same.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my journey. I stay on pop punk a lot. Go often to metal. I dabble in metal a decent amount.
Oh, yeah.
And then,
like death metal at all, or no?
not death metal. Death metal's too chuggy and too screams for me.
Yeah.
But, like, I do like screaming a lot, but death metal, I don't like the playing. It's not melodic, really, I find.
I mean, for me, because I have no palette for it, I can't determine one death metal song from the next, really.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I'm just so far removed from that genre, so.
But yeah, the first person to get me to understand screams could be used, like, musically was Manifest.
Oh,
With
yeah.
his No Plan B. And he had that screamer Coey from Crossfaith.
Yes, because he was on that song.
And that got me to look further into it, and I was like, oh, Crossfaith has some pretty good stuff. Really, and they did kind of like a good dubstep metal hybrid.
Oh, yeah.
And I really enjoyed that, but I'm getting into more things like Scarlord. Fonk is kind of popping off, and it's interesting, so Chord Hell is...
I think I have heard of Scarlord. I saw him on a Spotify playlist or something.
I don't know if you'd like him. It's energy, and it's screaming.
Yeah, I don't think I liked it.
Like, it is...
much.
Yeah. I don't imagine.
Like, I mean, like, for me, like, listening to, like, Eminem and some other aggressive rappers, like, they do yell, but it's not the same kind of yelling that you'll hear in a rock. Like, it's a different kind of...
Scarlord does a different kind, too.
Okay.
He screams to blow out his voice. Metal doesn't just blow out your voice. But he screams to the point where it's like, oh no, dude, your voice is gonna be fried.
Yeah. Well, there's like a proper way to scream.
Yeah, there's methods called fry screaming, but then when most people scream, like if you're in a fight, you can hurt your voice, right?
Yeah.
It's that kind of screaming that he's doing. It's so weird, but I kind of love it because I haven't heard it before.
I don't always like hearing that stuff because I almost like, like I just cringe because it's like, yeah.
But like, metal screaming doesn't hurt your voice unless you do it wrong, and then it can hurt your voice.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Yeah. Well, that's quite the journey there. Like,
yeah. I don't know, dude.
I see some similarities though with you and I, though we have different genres.
Yeah.
We have this thing where like, okay, we have a baseline and we kind of like return to it.
Yeah.
And we rediscover things and get revitalized.
Yeah.
And so in listening to your story, I'm like, you know what? There is some similarities. Like, oh, like, because you had mentioned like how pop punk is kind of your base and you'll kind of go from that. And then
I'll explore and then I come home, right?
Yeah, and then you'll kind of experiment with some other stuff, and then come back. So, I mean, since you asked that question to me, I will now relay that back to you. In 10 years, what do you see yourself listening to, or where do you see the landscape of what you're currently listening to will have some subgenres?
Okay, I'm getting into a bit more prog rock and prog metal. I love also orchestral stuff, and I want to listen to more of that kind of stuff.
Okay,
but in 10 years, it's hard to say. I think pop punk, I may have gotten bored of it by then. I think there's a shot. I've gotten bored of it and I moved on. It depends on if anything kind of captures me.
Yeah.
And I think there's a shot if I get bored, then I just stop. That's where my journey ends. But I think if something new comes out that I'm like, oh, that's a new sound that I haven't heard, and that's so interesting, I don't know. It's probably going to be metal. I think metal might go through revitalization. But I think pop punk will be part of the equation somewhat.
Okay, interesting. I mean, kind of more or less like me, like rap is going to be the foundation. But what subgenre will that be in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Interesting. Well, thanks guys for tuning in and listening to Tait and I's musical journey in journey in music.
Yeah.
And so we hope you guys enjoy this episode and catch us on the next episode where we bring forth a different topic.
Peace.
See you later.